Hi, it's Amy Shaw here. It's February 22nd, 2017, and what I want to talk about today is curses and sorcery. It's something that I've talked about before. I made another video about curses and how to sort of combat curses, what they are, and how to fend them off or deal with them once you have them. But I want to go into it a little bit more today again because it's something that's come up for me a lot lately. It's been happening to me a lot in the last couple months, a tremendous amount actually. So I really think that this is happening to me so much lately so that I can become aware of it and in my own self, not to fall victim of sorcery from other people, but also not to victimize other people through falling into sorcery myself, and just to become more aware of it in my own practice. And so I'm grateful for the lessons that I've had in the last couple months. They've definitely been my teachers, and I just want to spread that awareness and share it with other people. I'll share a couple stories just to give you some insight in what actually a curse is. This past weekend I was invited to a shamanic workshop. It was actually Sandra Harner's Shamanic Creativity. And we had periods where we would do journeying individually and then come together in pairs to share one-on-one the information that we gathered during our journey. And then we would all come back together in circle and share openly in the circle any information, wisdom, experience that was gained from it. And so we were asked each time to pair up with a different individual than one we had paired up with before. That way we kind of got to work with everybody and took turns experiencing everybody in the circle in a sense. One of the ladies that I paired up with is someone that I had paired up at a previous workshop, so I had some familiarity with her, but not a lot. But she and I sat down after we did our journey, and her particular journey and what she saw, it didn't really resonate with her. It didn't answer her question, so she didn't really understand it. And instead of really saying, well, I don't really understand this, I'm not sure how it applies to me, she immediately just assumed that, oh, it must be a message for you, meaning me. And then she starts telling me, yes, it's a message for you, and here's what I'm supposed to tell you. And she starts like revealing all this stuff that she got from her journey. Now, right away, I knew that this was sorcery, that she was falling into sorcery, but our time was limited and we didn't have a lot of time to spend together. And so I let her talk, didn't really have the opportunity to interject, but, and I took a lot of what she said. I mean, it had wisdom in it. I don't know if it exactly was for me, but I took out of it what I could, the wisdom out of it, and I just let it be. But then we got back into circle and it came time for us to share amongst the group. And she was one of the first ones that spoke up, and she said, well, I had an interesting journey. My journey wasn't about me. It was about my partner. And she points to me and she starts talking about everything that she saw and how it was really a message for me. And our teacher says, well, did you ask Amy if she gave you permission to share what you believed was hers? And she said, no, I just assumed because we were paired up, we already had permission. And so I had to interject myself at that point and state what had happened, and that I'm not really sure that the message was for me, but that this woman believed it was for me. And so to make the long story short, the whole conversation sort of ensued right there in front of everybody in circle, and our teacher started sharing how this other student had fallen into sorcery. Whenever you project something that originates from you onto somebody else, either without their permission or you're insisting that it belongs to them or that they must accept it, then that we run the danger of falling into sorcery. Now, that's a fairly benign example, and of course the woman was very upset. She spent 20 minutes going back and forth with the teacher, just not wanting to accept that that's in fact what had occurred. And I knew that the intention of her heart wasn't malicious, and it's why I really didn't take the time to interject and assert myself over her when we were meeting one-on-one. I just let her tell me that the message was for me, and that was okay. And she was really, really upset about it. You know, she just felt very like she was being accused of sorcery, and it wasn't her intention. And we all understood there that that wasn't her intention, but it was a good lesson because it's very tempting, and we very easily fall into it and don't realize it. And so I think that for myself in the past couple of months, why I've experienced it so much myself is because it's teaching me a lesson about how to guard against falling into sorcery myself. Another example that I want to give that happened to me a little over 2 weeks ago now. Somebody who I wouldn't really call a friend. It's somebody that I know maybe a little bit more than an acquaintance, but maybe not so much more. Somebody who also calls himself a shaman. He kind of attacked me. Well, he didn't kind of, he did attack me. And he basically attacked me on Facebook and then asked me if he could have, you know, some one-on-one Skype time with me. I already knew going into it what that time was going to be about, but I obliged because I'm the type of person that does like to work issues out if there's issues. And immediately it became apparent that he had already fallen into sorcery. I don't know if it was conscious on his part or not, because he kind of prefaces it saying that his special gift is a way that somebody actually like asserts authority over another person, to say like, I have special knowledge, or I have special permission, I have special connection with spirits. Yeah, it's a way to assert oneself over another person by saying that I have access to information that you don't have. And then he proceeds to tell me about myself, to talk about, you know, my flaws and what's wrong with me and what I'm doing wrong, and telling me that his special gift is to see how people are blocked. Well, first of all, I never said that I was blocked, nor did I come to him asking him for any type of assistance. He sort of just came at me, assaulting me with it, and saying, you know, in the name of being my friend, that this is what friends do. They let each other know when they're behaving in, you know, unsavory ways. So he was justifying his sorcery by saying, you know, of course, that it was in love, that he was my friend, and he's just pointing it out to me because he's doing it in love, and that this is what friends do. And so I spent an hour just sort of laboring with him, trying to explain to him, in a sense, that this is sorcery and that this isn't really how we go about our business with people, and that I didn't really count him in my close enough circle of friends to defer myself to him. And he didn't like that. He was very offended by me saying that. But basically, I do have a very core group of people that I would entrust myself to. Those are the people that I would open up to and truly trust, to hold my highest good in their heart. And they're the ones that I come to and say, hey, this is going on, and what do you think? And I trust them to give me their honest opinion about it after I, you know, sort of explain myself to them, explain my heart, explain where I'm coming from, and my experiences and my thought processes on it. And then they reflect back to me. And I'm open to that feedback. But when you're just going to come at me and say, I have this special gift and here's what's wrong with you, blah, 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 and then expect me to accept that, to bow to it and say, yes, yes, what you say about me and what you think you see in me is the truth about who I am, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. That not only is that sorcery, it's curse laying. And the fact that I didn't accept the curse, then it made him even angrier. And then he was saying I'm prideful and I'm arrogant, and that, you know, just my whole demeanor, that I was rolling my eyes. And I mean, he's going on and on about more, again, of what was wrong with me. Well, as I said, I labored for an hour just trying to help him to understand that this is not how we go about doing business. And that basically I wasn't going to accept his curse laying, and the angrier he got, the more frustrated and tense the interaction got. I finally got to the point where I had to flip the table and kind of point back to him by doing to him what he was doing to me, pointing out some flaws, and he didn't like it. He, of course, immediately hung up on me and blocked me. So that was the most recent, I would say, painful experience that I've had, but it just affirmed for me like how common it is for people to fall into sorcery, and it's even more nefarious because people do it all the time. And another word for it is, I guess, in a psychological sense, we would call it projection, when people project. And there's really good videos out there on YouTube about projection, particularly if you look at the ones from the Jungian point of view. Explains it really well, what it is. From the shamanic point of view, we call it sorcery because there's an added layer to it of the spiritual. And I'll give you another example of this. Last month, I went to drum circle, and there was a lady in the drum circle who the entire time was trying to get the attention of the other people in the circle. And she was saying, she points to the lady that I was across the way. And so she points to the lady that was sitting next to me saying, during the break, she says, you have a man there with you. He's talking to me, saying like she's a medium. She's picking up some spiritual chatter from the astral. He's talking to me. He's saying this, and he wants me to tell you this. Well, she did it to another person in the circle. After the group, she told her, I have a message for you. Can you come and see me later? And she like kind of intersected her downstairs and spent like 15 minutes basically like spiritually accosting her, telling her, you have multiple men that are, spirits with you, and they want you to give this message. And she's going on and on and on about it. Well, that is sorcery when it's uninvited, and when someone's asserting spiritual authority over you, saying they have special knowledge. You have to really guard yourself against that in the spiritual circles. And the thing of it is that she may or may not actually be a medium. In this particular instance, she actually gave her business card to the woman that she was telling this to, and told her, call me. So in other words, she's trying to like drum up business for herself. And the thing of it is, she may or may not be a medium, and it's possible that she is getting information from the spiritual realm. But you really have to guard against. I certainly know there's been many times where I've been in circle and I hear spiritual chatter, and it's so very tempting to like tap the person on the shoulder and tell them, hey, because that's what you're being asked to do, is to intercede, send this message, give this message to this person. But you really can't fall into that temptation to do that. You have to really restrain yourself and just tell them, go away, I don't want to hear it. No, you're going to have to get your message across some other way, not through me, because I do not want to assert myself over somebody else and appear to have some sort of special spiritual knowledge or insight. And I don't know, who those spirits really are or what their intention really is. It could actually be malevolent. And, the information that they're actually asking me to pass on could actually be harmful to that person. It may be something that they don't want to hear, they're not ready to hear. And so to just like assume, oh, I have special information and this person needs it and wants it, and to go out there and assault them with it, it's sorcery. It's sorcery. And so as spiritual practitioners, we have to guard against it and also learn how to defend ourselves from it. I talked in the last video a little bit about how to defend yourself from it. Thinking back on that video, one of the comments that I got on it was somebody was saying something about the dualistic nature of what I was saying. So in other words, like when you use words like defend against, it sort of sets it up in this realm of them and us, and it creates this dualism and this sense of that we have to fight or defend. And so that is a valid criticism. However, some of us are here to do this work of spiritual warfare, and it's just what it is. I shared before in my last video that I am now a student of the soul of modern soul science, and I've done the entire shamanic archetype workbook. And one of the facets of the shamanic archetype that's been identified is spiritual warrior. Another facet that's been identified is initiated into darkness. And both of those I really resonate with. That's definitely my path. And so it's just been my experience, right or wrong, that there is a darkness and there is a light. And I'm not putting any kind of value judgment on it in terms of the eternal state, because they both have their purposes. They both are teachers equally, but they go about it in different ways. And so, part of my process as being a light bearer is to eradicate the darkness, to work through shadow, and there's a very strong component of spiritual warfare in that. So from that aspect, yes, I do think that there are malevolent intent. There is malevolent intent towards us. Sometimes it comes through people unconsciously and they fall into sorcery not knowing, and sometimes they're very conscious. Another video I talked about this where I think that it really hones in on exactly what I'm talking about is called I Am the Antichrist. If you look on my YouTube channel, you'll see that video. It's a little bit long, but in that I feel like I really explain my core belief system and my understanding of the psychology of people and where we're at in our human development and our evolution process and the direction that we're going in. And I'm pretty clear about that, and I feel like I'm fairly clear about my place in that, my role, my job, why I'm here right now at this time. And so I don't want to get into all of that again. I don't want to get into so much how we defend against curses, because I've talked about that already in previous videos. So today I just really want to focus on driving home the point that it's very easy to fall into sorcery, and it's something that we have to guard ourselves against. When it happens to us and we become the victims of a sorcery, it's very seductive for us to fall into that with the other person and then become acting in sorcery in reverse onto them. So it's this delicate dance, and we have to be very, very discerning and very, very careful. And I think that the key to it is to really not only use discernment, but to stay very, very heart-centered. That seems to be the most important thing that I'm finding. But even then, like as I expressed this past weekend, she was very heart-centered, and we deceive ourselves, into thinking that our intentions are good. But it really is also recognizing the other person as a divine being who has a right to be where they're at, and understanding fundamentally that we're all perfectly where we're at, even in our flaws. The day that we die and our soul leaves this body, we are not going to be perfect up until that moment. We're going to still have flaws, still have things that we're working on, and we'll still be having a human experience. And so it's recognizing that each person has a right to that, and it's not my right to tell them to fix this or do that, or that they're this or that they're that. I can only allow them to define themselves, who they are and their experience to me. And I take that in and I listen to that and I honor and I respect that. Anything short of that is sorcery. So that was my intention, just to share that definition of it, give a little insight on it, and I hope that you have a great day. If you have questions or anything I can answer for you, just leave a comment or message me, get a hold of me somehow. So I will see you later. Have a great day.